Not too long ago, a buyer successfully sued their agent for sharing negative feedback with the seller. The comments: the house is overpriced and in poor condition. The result? A legal turning point that's changing how every agent communicates in 2025. So if you're waiting for honest feedback after showings, you're going to be waiting for a long time, because here's what's really happening when buyers tour your home and how to decode what they're really thinking without a word of feedback. But before diving in, make sure to subscribe if you want straight shooting advice that helps you sell smarter in today's market. Ever wonder why that buyer's agent went completely silent after touring your home? There's a good reason, and it might shock you. A recent real estate case changed everything about how agents communicate with sellers, and it may be the reason you're getting ghosted after showings. Here's what happened. A buyer's agent made what seemed like a harmless comment to a seller. She simply passed along that their client thought that the house was overpriced and in poor condition. No big deal, right? Just honest feedback. Well, that small comment sparked a legal nightmare that's now affecting every showing we have. The situation got complicated fast. After making those negative comments, the buyer changed their mind and submitted an offer below asking price. The seller, already irritated, countered at full price. Surprisingly, the buyer accepted. But things got tense during the inspection. When the buyers requested repairs, the seller flat out refused and said, "Take it or leave it." Why? Because those initial comments had left a sour taste. The seller had already labeled the buyer as difficult and wasn't about to do them any favors. And guess what? The buyer decided to take it and move forward anyway. But it didn't stop there. At the closing table, the buyer and seller actually met, and the seller decided to be brutally honest. They told the buyer they'd been hard on them because of the negative feedback they received after the showing. The buyer was stunned. They had no idea their agent had even submitted feedback. That bombshell? It started the lawsuit. The buyer sued their own agent, claiming the agent violated their fiduciary duty by sharing those private opinions. The court actually agreed by telling the seller what the buyer really thought. The agent had damaged their client's negotiation position. The judge ruled that the agent was legally responsible for harming their client's interests. Think about what this means for agents now. That comment about your kitchen needed an update, the casual mention that they didn't like your floors, those innocent-sounding bits of feedback could now create legal problems for agents and problems for their clients. When a buyer's agent shares negative or positive comments, they're potentially setting their client up for a disadvantage if they end up making an offer. The seller, armed with knowledge of the buyer's true thoughts, now has leverage in negotiations and might be less willing to compromise on price or repairs. This is why feedback is dying. Agents aren't being lazy. They're protecting themselves from legal exposure. Your agent isn't holding back information because they're not doing their job. They're operating in a new legal landscape where sharing opinions carries real risk. But this court case is just the beginning of why you're not getting feedback anymore. There's an even bigger reason why your agent won't tell you what buyers really think about your property. And it has everything to do with protecting the buyer's position in negotiations. Think about it. You say something nice about a house, and suddenly the listing agent won't stop calling you to follow up. It's awkward to compliment a property and then just simply walk away or disappear. That's the psychology at play. Now here's where things get tricky. If your agent passes those comments along to the seller, it can seriously backfire. What feels like a harmless opinion can weaken your negotiation position. And agents, that's something we all need to think about twice. In the past, agents freely passed along what buyers thought. They loved the kitchen, but weren't crazy about the backyard. This kind of sharing seemed helpful, but it actually created a major problem for buyers. Every positive comment weakened their position if they decided to make an offer. Here's how this plays out in real life. A buyer tours a home and tells their agent, "Wow, this kitchen is exactly what we've been looking for." The buyer's agent, trying to be helpful, shares this with the seller's agent. Now, when that buyer makes an offer below asking price, guess what happens? The seller thinks, "They loved my kitchen, so I know they really want this house. I'm not budging on price." Just like that, One innocent comment costs a buyer thousands of dollars. This is why silence has become a strategic tool that good agents use. When your agent says the buyer's agent hasn't provided feedback, it's likely because the buyer's agent is doing their job correctly. Information in real estate is power, and smart agents don't give away their clients' power for free. The contrast between old and new approaches is striking. Old school feedback like, "They liked it, but they're still looking," has become replaced with complete silence unless the buyer is serious about making an offer. Even casual, harmless comments can get weaponized during negotiations. I've seen one innocent comment cost a buyer all their leverage. After a showing, the buyer casually mentioned they didn't like the carpet but loved everything else. Later, after the inspection, they asked for several repairs, including a credit for carpet and paint. The seller refused their request and agreed to cover the carpet only. "They told us that was their only issue," the seller said. "We're not doing anything else." The seller knew the buyer would still move forward, and they did. That one comment stripped the buyer of any real negotiating power. So if you're not getting feedback anymore, how do you really know what buyers are thinking about your home? The answer isn't in what they say. It's in the data. The numbers don't lie, and they're speaking volumes about what buyers think about your property. Let me do a quick pause here. What do you think? Should agents still give feedback, or has this shift been a long time coming? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear from both buyers, sellers, and agents. What if I told you buyers are actually giving you feedback right now, just not in the way you expect? In 2025, the real estate market has its own language, and it's not about what people say. It's about what they do. Look, I get it. You want someone to tell you your house looks great or point out what needs fixing. But that's old school thinking. Today's market speaks through numbers and actions, not words. And trust me, these signals tell you way more than some polite comment could ever do. Here's what really matters. How many showings are you getting? 20 showings with 0 offers is telling you something important. Probably that your price is too high or there's an issue turning people away. But 3 showings that produce an offer, that's the market saying your home is priced right and showing well. Your listing agent should be tracking online engagement for you. Are people clicking on your home more than once? Are they coming back for a second look? How many have saved it in their search? These are the numbers that matter. They reveal real buyer interest or lack of it, and they don't lie. The comparison data is crucial too. Is your home getting fewer showings than similar properties nearby? That's the market telling you something needs to change. Maybe it's price, maybe presentation. Your agent should be pulling this data weekly and sharing it with you. Want a simple way to understand what buyers are thinking? High showings and strong online engagement equals buyers are interested, but something's holding them back. Low showings and weak engagement equals the price, photos, or presentation aren't grabbing attention. And any offer at all, that's the most honest feedback you'll get on your home's true market value. If this is helping you see your listing in a whole new light, give this video a like. It helps me reach more sellers who need real answers. So what should you track instead of waiting for verbal feedback? Focus on showing numbers, online engagement statistics, saved searches, and most importantly, actual offers. These metrics tell the real story about what buyers think of your home. Now that you know what to track, let's talk about how to decode what buyers are actually thinking when they walk through your door. The most important feedback you'll ever get won't come from an agent's email. It will come from what buyers actually do. These actions speak louder than any polite comment, and once you know what to look for, you'll never need verbal feedback again. Buyers follow predictable patterns when they're interested in a house. Think about it. We all do. When something grabs our attention, we ask questions. We linger on a little bit longer, maybe even revisit it later. Homes are no different. Many sellers assume silence means buyers are thinking it over, but more often, they've already moved on. When a buyer walks through your house quickly and leaves without asking questions, they're telling you something loud and clear. They're not interested. The silence is feedback. Want to know what real interest looks like? Pay attention when buyers ask specific questions about utilities, measurements, and the age of the systems like your HVAC or roof. These aren't casual questions. They're signals someone is seriously considering your home. They're mentally moving in, trying to figure out if your house works for their life. On the flip side, disinterest has its own signals. Short showing times, almost no questions, and absolutely no follow-up afterwards all means the same thing. They've crossed it off their list. Don't take it personally. It just wasn't their house. The timeline matters too. Serious buyers don't wait around. You'll see quick follow-up questions within hours and steady communication from their agent. When someone is truly interested, their agent will move fast, asking the right questions and even begin to talk terms. Offers tell their own story. A quick offer near asking price means high interest. A delayed lowball offer? They liked your house but think it's overpriced. No offers at all after a showing? That's a feedback that your price and property didn't match what they wanted. Your agent can help you interpret these signals correctly. Together, you can track showing patterns and buyer behaviors to understand what the market is telling you without a single word of traditional feedback. The death of feedback isn't something to fear. It's a shift that gives you clearer signals if you know how to read them. Silence indicates a lack of interest, whether due to price, condition, or simple lack of emotional connection to the home. It's not good news, but it's valuable because once you stop waiting for feedback and start responding to the signs, you can actually take control of your sale. The truth is, the market is always speaking. It speaks through showings, saves, second looks, and yes, silence. Ignore the signals and you risk missing your window. But when you tune in and adjust, that's when things start to move. Stop waiting for agents to tell you what buyers think and start paying attention to what they do. In 2025, silence isn't lack of feedback. It's the most honest feedback you'll ever get. If you're in Maryland and thinking about listing or relisting your house that didn't sell, reach out. We can meet one-on-one in person or over video and take a closer look at what the market is doing in your immediate area. And if you're outside of Maryland and not currently working with an agent, I'd be happy to connect you with a trusted professional in your area who share my values and strategic approach. Just fill out the Find an Agent form below and I'll take it from there. Remember, in today's market, the answers are there. You just need someone who knows where to look. Thanks again for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Bye.